Let's turn this into this. All the supplies I'm using today are linked in the description below. First off, you're going to need a hand spinner. Then you're going to need 2 hand carders or 2 dog brushes with wire bristles. This separates the yarn fibers. Next, I have some wool roving. You don't have to have this, but it is helpful. And then some yarn to act as a base. And then lastly, all of your scraps here. Step 1 is to prep our scrap yarn, and to do that, you're going to need some scissors. And basically what we're going to do here is to cut our pieces into 1 to 2 inch pieces. This is just going to make it much easier to deal with later. So you can separate them by color if you'd like, or you can just haphazardly mix it all together like I do. Either way, you'll just want to get all of this cut up before we move on to the next step. Once your strips are cut, now we're going to separate these into individual strands. So typically yarn is spun in more than one strand to make it stronger and then twist it together. So most of these are 4-ply, so I'm going to separate these individual little pieces until I have a full pile of these as well. Now your yarn should be looking something like this, and we can grab our hand carders and we're going to place some of these yarn fibers onto one of the brushes. And you don't want to overfill it. I would just cover the space on top of the brush and go from there. Once you have enough yarn on one brush, we are going to brush it with the other side and basically transfer these fibers back and forth until they're all nice and fluffy. And they don't look much like individual strands anymore. They just look like a bunch of yarn fluff. Now I'm going to bulk up these yarn fibers a bit with some of this roving. It's really nice to add a little bit in there to make it more sturdy and to just bring it all together in one cohesive yarn fiber. I like using white because if I have a bunch of different colors, it kind of just makes like a rainbow tweed effect. But you can use any color that you like. And now I'm just going to go back and forth until these are sufficiently mixed. Once you're happy with how it's looking, you can remove it from your card. Then I like to prep it a bit before I start spinning so that it's nice and even and the colors are spread out the way that I like. Once you have this all prepped, it'll make the next process really easy. To prep our spinner, we're going to grab our base yarn, and I like to attach it with a slip knot and put it on the base here. You'll thread your yarn through this little notch on the side and then through the hook on the top. Now I'm going to start spinning clockwise, and I'm going to get it nice and close to this roving and then start guiding it with my fingertips. And slowly spinning as I guide my fingertips up and let that roving twist around my base yarn. You could let your spinner hang and let gravity do some of the work for you, or you can do it like I am here, whatever way feels comfortable to you. You can try and keep it as clean or as messy as you'd like. I kind of just let it be what it wants to be. When your yarn starts to get pretty long, you can wrap it around the base below the hook to make it a bit easier to keep spinning. And there you have it. That's how to make yarn out of scraps. Until next time, happy crocheting!